Hello and welcome to MVP, the Master's Voice podcast from Mediabrief.com. I'm your host and friend Pawan R. Chawla, and I am delighted because of two reasons. One, because we are recording this episode to be released in both the audio format on all top podcast directories, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and also we're recording this in the video format for YouTube. And the second reason, actually the first that I'm really happy about today, is because of who my wonderful guest is on this episode. Please join me as I welcome music. Rajiv Shah, President and CEO of Digital Business Services, which is DBS in short, at the global company Happiest Minds Technologies. Rajiv, welcome to this episode of MVP, the Master's Voice podcast.
Thank you, Pawan. Great to be here, and I'm delighted and excited to be here.
You're very kind, really, Rajiv. Thank you for your time. It's early morning where you are in the US, right? While it's about 4 p.m. in where I am in Mumbai.
6:30 in Boston.
6:30 a.m. in Boston. Wow. Wonderful that you're beginning your day so early for me, Rajiv. Thanks again for that. Also, Rajiv, I want to thank two of your communications teammates. In fact, three. I'd like to say thanks to Sridhar and to Alroy of AdFactors PR Bengaluru, who are on this call. And the third person I'd like to thank is Kiran Vegas of your excellent comms team at Happiest Minds Technologies. All three have been instrumental in having made this wonderful interaction possible. I say wonderful because I expect a lot of amazing insights. But before we begin our conversation, Rajiv, and we can get to the part I've been waiting to get to, which is, where I'm looking forward to eliciting, like I said, a lot of good, insightful stuff about Happiest Minds, about you, about what you bring to the table, and how Happiest Minds Technologies is spreading, happiness amongst its clients across the world through your very serious business, actually. So before we begin and we get to that, rather, Rajiv, let me quickly discharge a happy duty, which is doing you the courtesy by telling my listeners about you. And our listeners include a lot of students and professionals across the gamut of younger professionals too, the more senior ones, even your peers and other similarly illustrious experienced industry and, professionals and thought leaders. So by your leave, Rajiv, here goes. Can we have some up-tempo music? My distinguished guest on this episode of MVP, the Master's Voice podcast is Rajiv Shah, President and CEO of Digital Business Services at Happiest Minds Technologies. Rajiv Shah is an esteemed global executive with a career spanning more than 30 years, 3 decades, across diverse industries like healthcare, financial services, technology, travel, transportation, and software, and more actually. Rajiv brings a wealth of leadership and experience to his role of President and CEO of DBS at Happiest Minds Technologies. Rajiv's impressive track record includes holding executive and board-level positions at renowned technology-driven organizations, including Electronic Data Systems, EDS, Wipro Technologies, IBS Software Services, and MU Sigma. Before he joined Happiest Minds Technologies, Rajiv provided strategic guidance as advisor to founder CEOs and worked closely with private equity firms during their investment evaluation processes. And during his tenure as CEO and Executive Director at IBS, Rajiv orchestrated a remarkable turnaround, transforming the company from a proprietary software provider to a highly profitable growth organization. Rajiv successfully steered the transition from on-premise to SaaS, and enhancing revenue and profitability visibility. Moreover, Rajiv spearheaded expansions into new global markets and orchestrated strategic acquisitions, integrating niche product companies seamlessly. Rajiv's leadership also facilitated a significant transition that helped deliver highly profitable exits for shareholders, right? So happy and profitable through the chain of the value system. Rajiv's extensive international experience has shaped his global perspective, which is very important and which he brings to the table with remarkable impact. Rajiv holds an MS in Mechanical Engineering from the University of Missouri, complemented by executive management courses at renowned global business schools. And Rajiv's also participated in Global Leadership Alliance training at St. Petersburg, Russia, and Stanford University. So that's my amazing guest, very evolved, very, very, very leadership-oriented thought leader, a leader with a world-thinking, shaping kind of mindset, whom I have from Happiest Minds Technologies on this episode. Rajiv, welcome once again to the episode. And now let's begin our conversation.
Thank you, Pawan. Thank you. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here and sharing whatever little that I know with your larger audience.
I was told you're very self-effacing, Rajiv, and you just proved that. And we know that the branches that are laden with the maximum fruit are the ones that bend lowest. So humility is very important.
But it starts with the seed.
Absolutely. So Rajiv, Happiest Minds Technologies Limited is a mindful IT organization, mindful IT company. It enables digital transformation for enterprises and technology providers by delivering a seamless customer experience or seamless customer experiences, business efficiency, and actionable insights. That's all I'm going to tell my viewers about your company, Rajiv, because I'd like to request you to share with us in your words a brief overview of the growth journey of Happiest Minds Technologies, its evolution into a top IT company, beginning with what you do, Rajiv, and how you do it, please, and do it so well.
So once again, thank you, Pawan, and thank you, your lovely audience, to be here. And it is a pleasure. So Happiest Minds, I think, as the name depicts, is all about happiness and mindfulness. Right? Built on a strong corporate culture and the ethos that really is the core foundation of the organization. And when we talk about happiness, is all about happy employees, happy customers, and in turn delivering happiness to our shareholders as well. And it's part of our culture that happiness really comes from giving and not from getting things. Right? And mindfulness, it comes about the awareness of the environment that we are part of, be it technology disruptions, be it capabilities required, be it business disruptions, mindful of being our employees, well-being, growth, social responsibility, etc. Hence the name Happiest Minds. I think it's a happiness and mindfulness to everything that we do. Coming back to your question that what do we really do, right? It's a digital born agile company. So we do provide digital services to the enterprises across the globe. When we look at digital, it means that help build the digital ready platforms. It helps a customer to integrate and expand their digital footprint and help them run their digital ready application through infrastructure management security services. So it's really driving the digital transformation in the customer organization to really help them take advantage of the business disruptions, technology disruptions. But ultimately, as you know, Pawan, organizations are driven by only two things, which is how do I increase my revenue and how do I become more profitable, right? And so our focus in driving the digital transformation is to, are we really driving the outcomes? Are we really make them grow their revenue? Are we able to help them expand their market segment? Are we make them profitable? And that's the essence of the organization. That's really taking advantage of the newer technologies, make sure that they continue to be relevant, continue to expand, and continue to grow.
Lovely, lovely. And how much of the company culture do you take on board, Rajiv, keep in your consideration set when you're going back with the solution to them?
Well, I guess it's a culture to take on board versus culture to adapt to the culture, right? It is really alignment of values and alignment of shared goal and responsibilities that everybody has to have. So it is part of our journey. And I think we spend quite a bit of time talking about on every meetings to every interactions that we have. And you'll be surprised that every meeting within the organization starts with gratitude. And that's the first thing that all of us as leaders or anything that we talk about is all about gratitude. And irrespective of what the difficult meeting that we get into as far as customer escalations or employee, but it starts with gratitude. And the other thing that we talk about that we never use the word milestone within our structure, we call it milestone. So it's all about happiness, right? So just to give you two examples, I think that is really about gratitude and milestones, and every meeting starts with that. So it is really, once you become part of that ecosystem, I think you start looking at it, and people have to adapt to that level of culture. And when we look at again, it's just simple. It is not complex, or our culture is complex, or business is complex. More simpler that you make it, the better off you're going to be. And without preaching about things, and just tell about values, tell about how do you what does SMILE stand for, right? What does the organization really look at from the organization perspective? And SMILES for us, I think that while it is, people might think it's just smiling, it's about sharing, mindful, integrity, learning, excellence, and social responsibility. And that's what SMILE stands for.
Oh, that's a wonderful definition of SMILE, Rajiv. Lovely. Rajiv, as CEO of Digital Business Services at Happiest Minds Technologies, what strategies have you implemented to drive the company's growth and success?
I think it's important for us to really go back to the fundamentals of driving outcomes with the customer organization. If we miss the boat on really outcomes and why are we here and what are we doing for our customers, and that applies to our employees as well, and that applies to our shareholders. But coming back to the business itself, it is all about outcomes. And outcomes in every measurement that we go through, whether it's a monthly meeting, weekly meeting, or even my interactions with the CEOs or CIOs, is all about that what have we delivered and how have you seen value from our interactions. We might have been imperfect during that execution, but at the end of the day, the intent has been perfect or not, right? Our commitment has been perfect or not, and we are able to drive the outcome. So that's one. And we make sure that we help them monetize their investments. I think most of the time when we look at the organizations or service provider, so we are going to implement a new technology, we are going to take care of these things, and suddenly you find out that they already have invested a lot of things over the last 5 years. So our focus has been really driving the outcomes, help them monetize the investment they have made. How can we take advantage of some of those things? Help build the right set of capabilities, not only for us, but for the customer organization. Because as you know, digital is completely different than your traditional IT services where you go through application maintenance, support kind of activities. How do you really help the sustainable level of business capabilities? Invest in the future. And relentless pursuit to customer happiness. If you look at our history, we've been continuously high on the Net Promoter Score, and our last number was 60 plus, and which is industry leading. Right? When you talk about you have more promoters and detractors, I think it is all about happiness. So really making sure that we take baby steps into really driving change in the customer organization, break up the problems into smaller pieces. Don't try to change the world in one day, right? Make sure that you are optimizing the supply chain. Then you go to the sales performance. Then you go into a store performance, whatever it is, but take a baby steps into driving the transformation in the customer organization and make sure that you continue to focus on the outcomes.
Excellent. And in the relationship, because it's the relationship that drives adaptation or adoption of the change process in the company, that's your client, Rajiv. So do you also partner your clients in helping them communicate the sort of new, let's say, roadmap ahead for everyone to adopt in the client company in a manner that they actually end up thinking that this is something each person thinks, I want to do this and I own it. And so therefore, perhaps the outcomes are better, Rajiv. Is something like that also inherent in the way you strategize this and approach the whole thing with your client?
Yeah, so I think there are two parts to it. One is that I think that any journey is a change management, right? So it's not a technology implementation. And change management require both our teams, customer teams, our partners to really go through the process of what are we changing and what are the things that I need to do differently, whether it's a simple Excel spreadsheets to really the business process change that one has to go through. So it is about building the capabilities. It's not about learning that how do you do a Java code or how do you do Python code or whatever it is. It is about changing the way you were doing things from the earlier cycle. So it is a change management. Uh, so going back to your question, I think it is about really learning and teaching, right? So learn from our customers as far as, because you can't change. I think that we go with this maverick view that I'm going to change the world and I'm going to have this wonderful technology and I'm going to do these things. I think it is, while it sounds pretty interesting, I mean, we are not Web 3.0, we are not Metaverse, we are not ChatGPT, we are not OpenAI, right? It is about taking the baby steps in making not only the technology change, but really the people's way of looking at things differently is important.
Right. Change begins with me, right? Change begins internally, right? Rajiv, with every individual. And that's what I gather from what you've just said. Getting everyone to sort of think like that and move ahead, perhaps.
And take baby steps. And change begins with us. And I think our team needs to do the same thing, that they are not here to just change the entire customer organization, but they need to change as well, because there are things that you learn from the customer. There are things that you will learn from your partners. So you'll have to change and adapt and take, again, proof of concept to consultative engagements, really have successes and failures as well. But be transparent about those failures, right? It is important.
Oh, absolutely. That's very important. So, Rajiv, what I read here, what I get, my gold dust from what you just told me, is take baby steps, and there should be both ownership and learning at the same time. So there's humility, there is learning and moving together, slowly and with complete forthrightness to both yourself and to your teams and, of course, the client. So what role do you believe, Rajiv, innovation and adaptability play in the long-term growth and sustainability of an IT company?
Well, I think we have to first accept the fact that we are part of the larger ecosystem, right? We are not on this journey on our own, right? So adaptability to simpler things, to adapt to customers' processes, adapt to the culture that they have, adapt to the security standards that they have, and just learning from each other. So that level of adaptability, and you have a diverse set of teams, so one has to adapt to each other as well. So adaptability is important in every aspect of everything that you do. You go back to the culture side of it. One has to adapt to the culture. Right? You continue to hire more people. We have more than 5,000 people in the organization today versus what we had 2,000 probably 4 years ago. So it continues to grow. So how do you make an organization which is adaptable to the new dynamics? And within that 4 years, the technology has evolved. I think that when you would appreciate that a year and a half ago, we were all into this Web 3.0 metaverse type of becoming a big word. In the last 6 months, it has become generative AI and chat GPTs, etc. So it's moving much faster. So not that other things have gone away, but you continue to learn how things that you had to adapt to really drive the customer and innovate things to really help the customer take advantage of it. And it's important because whatever you do today should not become obsolete tomorrow. So our ability to look at the technology disruptions, what's going to come down 2 years down the road? What is going to come down 5 years down the road? We adapted IoT and blockchain like 7 years ago. When it becomes, so how do you continue to innovate and invest in the newer technologies to try it out is important to the extent that we run our own internal, what we call blitz, where people come up with bright ideas and we have like a mini solution accelerators or IP competition within the organization. So how do they look at things over the next 3 years? And one of the key criteria is that, is it going to be relevant? Is it good for us today, or is it going to be relevant for us the next 3 years down the road? So innovation is very important to us, and innovation for any organization for that matter. Innovation is not just technology. Innovation is all about culture as well. Where is the customer going to be 3 years down the road? Are they going to expand into some other geographies? And how do we really get ourselves ready to adapt to the culture and innovate to look at things differently as well?
Well said. Absolutely. So you have to be preemptive about it, innovatively and strategically too. because eventually it's all about helping your clients achieve their business objectives, which can best or perhaps only happen through strong partnerships. And I think those stem from mutual respect. Like between you and a client, a strong, positive, and mutually trusting relationship between both your companies would only stem from mutual respect. They've come to you because they know they are probably in the best hands with you, Rajiv, and your company. So my question to you, Rajiv, is how important are the sets of initial meetings to set up and to cement a strong partnership between yourselves as good strategic consultants, advisors, enablers? And how do you approach building strong partnerships and collaborations with clients and with other organizations in the industry?
No, I think a good question. I think that first and foremost, I think we just want to correct that we are not a strategic consultants, right? So our job is not to do what the higher level strategic consultants do. Our job is to really make sure that we help our customers take advantage of their current investments, technology disruptions, and really make them either help them with the revenue generations or become more efficient or effective to drive more profitability, right? And given that, I think that it is, again, we try to make it too complex. Ultimately, what I do in any conversation with the customers as well as with our team is, are we creating value? Are we delivering value? And how do we sustain value, right, in the long run? And if you break it up into what have we done today on creating value for all constituents of the organization, what have I done? And that happens at my Monday morning leadership call immediately right after this, religiously at 8:30 a.m. EST, no matter where I am. And we talk about what have we done. It's easy to talk about numbers, where is your pipeline looking like, etc. But what have we done, right, is important. Are we delivering to the promise that we have made to the customer? And are we going to continue to be relevant in the next 6 months? Yeah, we have delivered value, but is it that's okay? It's like a one-off type of things, or is it going to be sustainable? So really keeping it simple on the creation of value is important. And the important thing is, I think, going back to your point that you made during that question, was a different stage of relationship requires a different level of communication. So when you're opening up a new logo or new customer acquisition, again, there is a lot of adaptation that needs to be done, culturally, process-wise, technology-wise, getting to know each other type of stuff. And that structure requires a very different level of communication, both from the frequency perspective as well as content perspective. Once you become mature 3 years down the road, or 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, requires a different set of interactions or content as well as discussion. So be it as an organization are very keen on, or it is important for us to really think about that. Do we have a different governance structure? Do we have a different discussions during the first 3 to 6 months of the relationship versus when it becomes stable and mature, right? So I spend a lot of time on those fronts in early stages when I meet the CIOs, when we are closing the deals. One of the things I talk about that, we have responded to the RFP. There is a governance structure, strategic council that's set up. That's fine to comply to your process. But at the end of the day, we have to agree to having a different governance structure in the first 6 months, because you have to call me if something doesn't work out, or I need to call you that something doesn't work out, right, in the first 6 months. So that is important, that having a different sets of communication as well as content during that phase of the project, I think is very important as well.
Wow, wonderful. Really very insightful, Rajiv. Thank you for that. Rajiv, please share some insights into your leadership style. I mean, I already have gleaned a lot of important things from my chat with you so far, but if you could perhaps speak of some important things about your leadership style and also how it has contributed to fostering a positive and a high-performing work culture within your teams.
Interesting question, Pawan, and thank you for that. I think it's what is leader's job? Leader's job is we sometimes make it too complex, right? P&L, this. I think my leader's job is to really provide the environment for people to be successful.
Lovely. Well said. Absolutely.
And make sure that I'm providing the right set of environment for my team to be successful. And if they are successful, if you provide them with the right environment, right set of guidance, I think that they'll be successful. Everybody's committed to it. I think that everybody has good intent, right? So what more can we do? Can I be more productive by asking them what is your P&L look like, or what is your sales pipeline look like? I think they'll know the answer. And if I don't have the answers when I walk into the meeting, I think there's something wrong. At the end of the day, that I'm not doing my job by not knowing that data, right? Not to the nitty gritty of things, but what are the top 5 deals that we are pursuing. But at the end of the day, am I providing the right environment for them to get inducted in the organization? Am I providing the right infrastructure, right level of exposure, right of technology, learning and development framework? Am I providing them with the oversight that is, or not oversight, but really to help them during the customer interactions, right? So that's one. So my job is to provide the environment for them to be successful. The second one, I think that you don't have to be prescriptive. I think that most of the time that us as leaders think that we have all the answers. We are, as leaders, are as insecure as everybody else. Are we asking the right questions to get to the right answers? So navigate through the team and navigate through the process for asking the right questions to help them arrive at the right answer. And the third is really about, and I talk about it all the time, that it is collective leadership but individual accountability.
Excellent. Excellent.
And it's important that you take responsibility for the task or the activity that has been assigned to, but at the end of the day, it's a collective leadership. Success and failures is collective to us. And I have 2 more things. One is that one has to be visible. You can't be just sitting and doing Zoom calls and talking about it, but I think you need to be visible as a leader to the rest of the organization by whatever means that you take. And finally, that I think I had written an article earlier as well, but it's all about care, concern, appreciate, recognize, and encourage.
Lovely, lovely. Well said.
It is all about just make sure that you are empathetic to things, but at the same time, you have the really don't want to be wishy-washy, but then you have the authority and you can help make the decisions.
Excellent, excellent.
Long answer to your question.
And what a wonderful answer, Rajiv. It's like a tiny little handbook, like those little Harvard Business Review books packed with, short little individual insights, right? What a nice answer. Honestly, it's something that everybody from the youngest executive to the senior most promoter could, do well to do a cut and keep with. Really, really wonderful. I'm glad I asked you that question.
Thank you.
And empathy was another beautiful word that came out. And, in the process of what you told me, you didn't just tell me how you operate as a leader, but you also told every young person who aspires to be a leader someday as to how they should approach what they are needed to do and how they should work too, and also expect what they should expect from their leaders. So really, very nice. So Rajiv, what advice would you give to aspiring leaders who aim to drive business growth and achieve success in the IT industry? One, I would tell them, gleaning from what I've gleaned from you, is follow the leader. What you just said about your leadership style, I think that would be half the battle won. Right? Do not be prescriptive when you pick someone for a leadership role, because by selecting them, you've already told the world that this is the lady or gentleman who I am, that is you, the leader, are counting upon to do a great job. So you set them free and you do not be too prescriptive. But you are aware, you back them, you help them, and let them know you are there. But that's your amazing role, which I tried to simply sort of encapsulate and iterate. What advice would you give to the aspiring leaders in the IT industry?
Well, I guess I'm probably too small of a guy to give any advice. I think it is just learning from the life experiences, right, at the end of the day. But one thing that, Pawan, I have found that I think that is important for aspiring leaders, or anybody for that matter, I think we somehow miss out on not knowing who really we are. both as an organization or individuals, and we try to make it too complex. And I've seen it when people try to describe the company in different ways, and in the process, I think that we don't keep it simple. So really think about a very simplistic way on knowing who you are and what you are all about. What is Happiest Minds all about? What are we trying to do versus thinking about in the first interactions or anything else that, oh, this is how the Gen AI, ChatGPT is going to change the world, and this is what we invest in, these are the partnerships that we have. It's really that corporate culture, ethos, and why we are going to make you relevant.
Rajiv, you just said introspect and think about what we are doing at Happiest Minds, who we are and what we do. So do you want to answer those for your entire team of 5,000 plus people who impact maybe so many million people across the world with their work from Happiest Minds Technologies?
I think that it is about that we are here to really help our customers become successful.
Okay.
And within that concept, we take advantage of the larger ecosystem to create, deliver, and sustain value for our customers, our employees, and shareholders. Again, I'm going back to the points I made earlier. Again, it's simple. At the end of the day, it is about a story. That how we grew, how do we develop, and what are the things that we are doing for the customer. And make 2 or 3 successes and really imbibe in the organization, make sure that it's really help you create your own story. We try to look at 10,000 things we have done as an organization. Nobody can learn those 10,000 things. Take 2 or 3 examples and really make them as part of your story. Right? Okay. Versus, oh, this is what we do for this energy company, this is what we did for retail company, this is what we do, all this stuff. Prepare well. Okay. So I'm again keeping it very simple. Have a story, have a conviction, know who you are, prepare well. Right? Most of the time, again, in your business, my business, we always wait till the last minute. We're still jumping on the plane and we're still reviewing the presentation, right? Or something else. Or talking about, oh, that presentation, have you sent me the briefing note, right? And we are reading the briefing note while we are in the elevator in the customer meeting. Prepare well, okay? Prepare well and spend time, because this is not only helps you articulate the story, but at least provides a confidence in the customer organization, because you're going to fumble. If you're going to read something in the elevator just before you're walking into the meeting, I think you're going to fumble, right? So spend time that this is the most important interaction that I'm getting into, whether it's employee interactions about their salary increases, or whether it's interaction about customer, or whether you're going to a speaking engagement. You don't want to wait till the last minute.
Internalize
And spend time. Have a learning attitude, because again, I'm going to get into the meeting and I know everything, I have all the answers, but listen, right? Customer you might walk into there, I'm going to talk about Gen AI, and then suddenly the question comes up on Web 3.0. Oh, I don't know. I think that I'll get my expert to talk to you next week, right? Suddenly you lost the opportunity. Right? So listen to what they are saying and what their business problems are. And there is a famous, again, Pawan, you're too young to probably remember, but there was a disc jockey in the US called Casey Kasem, who used to have American Top 40 songs every Sunday, and going to college in this, religiously listen to that 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the afternoon to American Top 40. Right? And he'll always end with a saying which has stuck with me forever, and this is really the message to the entire 5,000 people of Happiest Minds and the others that are listening. He used to say that keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
Wow, that's great advice, Rajiv, from that wonderful DJ. And what more advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs and professionals looking to succeed in the digital business services industry? Advice, of course, based on your own amazing extensive experience and, the insights and learnings from it, Rajiv.
Continue to be up to date and relevant. It is important, because today's idea will be obsolete tomorrow. Right? So continue to be really in a learning mode about things for the future. And one of the things that I do is, which a lot of my teams get surprised by, but I listen to the transcript of some of my competition. Yeah, quarterly transcripts that I sometimes dial into the call or I listen to them, because there is a great opportunity for us to learn from each other. What are they up to, right? Again, I don't want the 5,000 people to get into the habit of listening to everybody, but I think identify 2 or 3 that you really admire and what are they saying in the marketplace. Right? Because there is such a great opportunity for us to continue to evolve and learn from each other. Learn from your customers. I think there are great things that we can learn from the customers. They don't need prescriptive answers. They know about their environment. They know their business objectives very well. How do you help them facilitate that? So continue to learn from your customers. Continue to learn from peers. Because most of the time we get into this competitive mode of, why should I go and talk to this individual? I think there is a tremendous amount of knowledge that exists amongst ourselves that I learn something from this interactions, you hopefully learn something from this interactions, and continue to learn from each other. And there is a great ecosystem of partners that you need to work with as well, that to make them part of your solutioning versus, I have 5 partners standing outside and why should I talk to you, right? If you go with that attitude versus, hey, we really want to find out that how can we work together. And again, it's all about what's going on in the world and knowing about it and creating stories out of it is important for everybody. So it's all about learning over knowing.
Lovely. And all the knowledge and the learning that you bring in, I'm sure that sets an example for others also, because per force ex officio, in terms of the kind of work that you are in, everybody needs to be ahead of the curve on learning in terms of what are the trends, what might be asked from or of them in a particular meeting that they're going in for, or the way they are looking at any opportunity. So absolutely. And obviously, your solid focus on business and adding more and more information that will be relevant to how you run your business and the competition, their calls, their transcripts, or whatever it is that's happening in terms of their business and the ecosystem in the larger sense. So that's one important part or one way for you in which you keep yourself updated with the latest industry trends and technologies. Any others, Rajiv? Any specific reading or some thought leader that you follow, some 3, 4, 5 people from your area or work interests that you might be following? Any suggestions to empower young professionals?
So I think that I'll be probably...
a book maybe?
Well, I guess it's if I make a statement, people will probably stop listening to me, but I don't read management books.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Why don't you read management books?
There are a lot of things that you learn from others and by observing. That you can always learn from observing and what Azim Premji has done or what Ashok Sutta has done or other things, right? I had a privilege of working with some of the best entrepreneurs. I worked for Kerry Packer in Australia, right? And I worked for Sunil Mittal as well. So you learn from observing these leaders. And I think as a result that sometimes the management books, to me, again, I'm not prescribing that. It becomes prescriptive, right? That, okay, you go through this. But the latest that I bought, one of the best that I have read recently, which is quite interesting, is by a lady named Priya Parker. It's about art of gathering. Okay. Which is very interesting book that we spent, and Priya does such a high communication expertise that she has, that she actually participates in negotiations between world leaders sometimes, right? But it is about art of gathering is about the purpose. What is the purpose of this meeting, right? We spend so much time on, even when I connected earlier today that, whether the picture in the back shows up or not, right? Properly, right? A type of stuff. We spend so much time in the environment that how the when you invite people for party, that what kind of crockery I'm going to have and what kind of food I'm going to serve. But we hardly spend any time on talking about that. How are they going to sit and how are going to improve the communication when the people sit down and talk about things. So it's all about art of gathering, about the purpose. What is the purpose of the meeting, right? So going back to that, I think that is one of my recent favorites. Then, of course, every time I feel like I go back to read this book called Ikigai. I don't know whether you have heard of it.
Oh, yes, very much.
It's just a amazing book and talks about just longevity and again being purpose in the life and being happiness, right? So some of those things that I aspire to read, and I'm a big sports fan, so anything that relates to anything related to sports and the lessons learned from those guys, that how they really think at the moment and stand on their feet to deliver the goods is important as well.
Rajiv, tell me, how do you navigate the complexities of leading diverse global teams? And what strategies do you employ to ensure effective collaboration? And of course, you've been underlining this throughout, effective communication.
So I think the first and foremost is really we are all in these things together, right? So irrespective of the culture, the creed and locations or capabilities, I think we are all in this thing together and continue to harp on it, that leverage each other to really make a success out of the every interactions that you have, because whether we like it or not, we are dependent on each other. Okay, we are not mavericks. There's only one Steve Jobs in this world, right? Or there are very few of that nature. But we are dependent on each other to make a success. So improve the interactions between the teams is important. Have you talked to this person? You can get the data from another, our infrastructure management security services and talk about this thing, right? So help facilitate the interactions is important. But at the end of the day, I think it's all about, are you consistency in how you approach culture? How do you not deviate from the corporate ethos? That are you treating Pawan differently, and are you going to treat Kiran differently because that's what the flavor of the day looks like, right? That are you coming across as a consistent leader across the globe? More of a marriage, but don't be a matchmaker. They're okay. Why don't you two guys talk, right? Ask the questions for them to force them to talk, right? Versus, oh, these are the three people that you should talk to and find out about it. Maybe sometimes you prescriptive, but don't be a matchmaker all the time. Because let them learn on their own. They know, who should I talk to? I don't know. Just write an email to this individual and find out whether he or she is the right person, and they will guide you in the next. No, I'm not the right person, but talk to other person, right? Because they let them navigate through the system and let them learn how to.
My God, 5,000 people across the world, of them, even if 5% are leaders within verticals and functions, okay? And each one of them is like waiting to tap into Rajiv's time. How do you... how many hours in the 24 do you work every day, Rajiv?
It's interesting. So sometimes some people like it or not, but I'm a very disciplined guy, right? So I have my, one is that I have a meeting start time and meeting end time, right? Irrespective of whether I have another meeting after that, but I end at certain point of time. Okay. So from that perspective, they are always available to reach me and talk about it. But don't ask me, okay, who should I talk to? Can you tell me about this individual? Who should? Well, the new person that might have joined in some geography in Netherlands and want to know about it. I think you need to, again, you don't have a prescribed way of managing everything that I will answer this questions, I will not answer this questions. At least read the questions or read the query that you have and act accordingly. But if the same person is asking the same question 10 times, then you better figure it out that, okay, I don't think, there is a problem, right? So availability, accessibility is important. But Rajiv Shah as an individual that does not like to talk. He likes to communicate.
Wonderful.
There is a difference, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Make sure that we just don't end up talking to each other for whatever reason. So there is a level of communication. So if that's relevant, it's intriguing, exciting, and we make it exciting. Yeah. If the conversation is exciting, then Rajiv Shah will give you time. If it just becomes, I can hate to say it, bullshit with the best, but at the same time, there is time and place for doing that kind of stuff versus really when it comes to when others are dependent on you, make sure that the discussions are relevant as well.
Excellent. That's very insightful, Rajiv. And since we're speaking about how you manage coordinating with and leading so many professionals, tell me, what is a working day like? What are the most important things that you must do every day?
What are the most, I think my first and the foremost is when I wake up at 6 o'clock, I have to have my cup of coffee. Okay, that's important. But is really that who has asked for help and time, right? So it's not a fixed, except for my one-on-ones with my direct reports and my leadership call, which I talked about at 8:30, no matter where I am, except when I'm on vacation or leave, 8:30 EST on Monday morning, those are sacrosanct. Those don't change, right? But then you look at, so, okay, who has asked for some help over the last 24 hours? Okay, I need your inputs on this organization structure that I'm putting in. So you prioritize your day based on the need that you have or ask that you have. There might be some urgent things that a finance guy needs the data right away, and can you react to those things? But at least prioritize for the date. I have my small sheet of paper every morning. I write down that, okay, these are the 5 things I'm going to do today, right? And that will force my day into thing.
So you plan, of course.
I plan based on what people have asked for it. Again, going back to that here, I'm only here to make them successful. I don't have any other job.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So make sure that I prioritize based on the needs of the organization that they have. So my day typically is quite balanced from that perspective. I do have my time to catch up on cricket match or looking Chandrayaan live to thinking about when the bell rings at 9:30 on stock exchange. I do catch up on things, and again try to be, because once you engrossed into 24/7 on work-related stuff, your ability to think and learn goes away. Right? So you have to prioritize and do things. At the same time, have a discipline of managing your meeting times. I think that we tend to get in this mode of that, okay, the longer the meeting, the better off we're going to be. I think we have talked more, right? And it was a very successful meeting because we had a 2-hour meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So I think that try to manage your time very effectively from the meeting perspective.
Lovely. And I know that you like to end your meetings in or on time, and we are reaching the end of the time that we had set for this conversation, Rajiv. So I'm going to thank you very, very much indeed. I really enjoyed this conversation, Rajiv. What did you think of your chat with me on MVP, the Master's Voice podcast from Mediabrief.com?
Again, thanks, Pawan, and your audience. And I think it is truly a pleasure and privilege. I think that nothing can be a better start than Monday morning of having these discussions about culture, leadership, without getting into to be honest, I think when I was thinking about it last night, I said, oh, is Pawan going to ask me about generative AI and chat GPT and all the stuff? And how do I prepare myself on digital world? Because, oh, you're a happiest mind born digital world.
No, I'm not going to waste your time and your brain width on that mundane stuff or stuff like that. I just wanted insights on, your leadership style and what Happiest Minds does. And I'm truly happy with our chat.
So from that perspective, I think it also helped me rethink my own thought process. And I think, like I said, every interaction is a learning by the questions that you ask versus prescriptive answers that you might have come up with. Oh, this leader is thinking about this, and what do you think about this, right? So all the stuff, I think that really enjoyed that conversation. It really started my juices flowing on Monday, so I'll be a lot more productive for the rest of the week.
Wonderful. I don't think this conversation and the juices that will flow will take you past more than a couple of days or even a day, because you, Rajiv, are that kind of, on rocket fuel kind of person. I really enjoyed my conversation. Thank you ever so much, Rajiv. And thanks also to your wonderful teammates, your comms mates, Kiran Vegas of your excellent CopCom team. And of course, Sridhar and Alroy at Factors PR Bangalore for, all that they did to together make this interaction possible. And thank you ever so much, 6 a.m. in the morning, your time, Boston in the US, talking to me for more than an hour. I feel privileged and very, very fortunate, Rajiv. Thank you so much.
No, it is my pleasure, and hope we get a chance to meet in person as well, Pawan. So all the best for everybody for the rest of the week and on your journey as well, and wish you all the best.
Thank you, and I wish you the same.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Our distinguished guest on this episode of MVP The Master's Voice podcast was Rajiv Shah, President and CEO of Digital Business Services at Happiest Minds Technologies. Amazing gentleman, super leader who shared so many insights that will benefit everyone from the rawest learner and junior to the senior most professional, including Rajiv's peers, all the amazing professionals from across the spectrum who tune in to MVP The Master's Voice podcast and also to Mediabrief.com. We have a really long list of requests for some eminent leaders to feature on the episodes on this Master's Voice podcast series, and we feel very humble and equally proud of the fact that, and grateful to the kind of leaders who already featured on the show, like Rajiv in our latest episode. They are the ones who've set the precedent and have always upped the standard by their appearances. We'll be bringing out an amazing book. I say amazing, but I believe it's going to be really good, on transcripts from the episode also. On the episodes, these should be a masterclass, and wait for that. Till we meet again in the next episode of MVP The Master's Voice podcast, this is your host and friend Pawan R. Chawla, founder, editor of Mediabrief.com, saying, take care, stay safe, stay happy. Bye-bye.